And to take this further, we are being joined by Garland Nixon. He's a political analyst and radio show host from Maryland, United States. Mr. Nixon, thank you so much for joining us here on WION. Good to see you. Let me first come to you with some numbers. Kamala Harris is leading in 5 swing states. Some of the guests we have been speaking to lately has been calling it her honeymoon period, but it's going to be about a month since she jumped onto the campaign trail for the White House. Your thoughts?
I think it is somewhat valid to consider it a honeymoon period because Kamala Harris at this point hasn't really laid out her policy platform, and she's been running off of, the kind of the gender thing. Will be the first woman of color, things of that nature. So I do think it is fair to portray this as a honeymoon period up until the time that she lays out her policy platform and that she has a significant presence on stage, such as national debates, etc. So right now, until such time as we hear the meat and potatoes, as we say, of what her plans are as acting as the leader of the United States, I think we can consider it somewhat of a honeymoon period.
Right. At this point, I don't think anyone's surprised if there are any controversial name-calling coming in from Donald Trump. That has been his forte, not just in this elections, but also in 2016. He had made a lot of misogynistic comments, if I can call them, against Hillary Clinton. But given the last week, he has called, first he called Kamala Harris, he questioned Kamala Harris's race, then he made fun about how he laughed, and now he's justifying it, saying that I'm entitled to make personal attacks. Keeping all of this in mind, what do you think you could read into the strategy of it? Do you think that he's rattled?
I don't think it's as much a strategy as it is. This is who Donald Trump is. And if you look into the history of United States elections, this is nothing new. We can go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, where they were literally had pictures of gorillas and monkeys, and they attacked his looks. So, while in fact this current iteration of political attacks may seem childish, and to some extent it is the nature of Donald Trump to do that. I don't think the people who support Donald Trump expect anything different than that. They kind of laugh at it. A lot of people don't know that Donald Trump is in the Hall of Fame for the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, which was all about this kind of actions. So I think it's part of Donald Trump's entertainment for his base. I think it's part of pumping his base up, kind of like an athlete does or a boxer before a match.
So you think this kind of name calling actually works in favor of rallying up his campaign and his supporters?
Yeah, I think you have to understand whenever a politician talks who they're talking to. I think that the Trump-Vance people, like any politician, understands that there's certain groups that simply aren't going to vote for them. So I think when they issue out their various forms of rhetoric, they take into account, well, there's certain people that aren't going to vote for me. And the people that would be offended by this or upset by this already aren't going to vote for me. So instead, they reach out to their base.
Mr. Nixon, very quickly, if I could also talk a little about his running mate, J.D. Vance, his latest comments on abortion. So let me ask you a more generic question. Do you think Republicans see abortion as a healthcare issue?
No, I think they see it more as a religious and a moral issue. So because they see it as a religious and moral issue, they argue that, they take from their perspective, they believe that they're taking the religious and the moral high ground on this. I also think when I look at J.D. Vance's comments, he quickly pivoted to the things that he believes will decide the election. He said, if you listen to it, now I don't necessarily agree with him, but I'm just saying from a tactical perspective, he said, no, women aren't concerned with abortion, which isn't true. But he then went on to say they're concerned with the price of groceries and inflation. And in reality, when it comes to this election, I think that's going to be a much more significant factor to voters than abortion. I think the people that are mostly concerned with abortion, that's their top issue, are already going to vote for Kamala Harris.
All right, Mr. Nixon, thank you so much for joining us from Maryland and getting us your insights.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.